I think we're live. Can you confirm that we're live? Let me know if you can see my face and you can hear my voice through this microphone. Thank you guys so much for joining us today for our awesome discussion. Fridays is our community forum style discussion. And if you hear some music in the background, that's on purpose because we're upping our production value, y'all. We're going crazy here, okay? We're going crazy. Here we go. So, our community forum member from today, and just to give you guys a heads up, community forum members are people who support the channel through Patreon and YouTube Live. We put these together so that we can have a broader community discussion. Our special guest today is Rodman. Hello. How you doing,
Hello.
my friend? Good to see you. And then our super duper special guest, the one, the only, K10, Kristen. Thank you so much for coming. Woo! Thank you so much. Really appreciate you making the time to come chat with us today. It's awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love your Hawaii shirt too.
Thank you. Thank you very much. McLovin is a legend of mine. He was one of my very first, it was one of the first movies I ever went to see, Superbad, for those that are not familiar, Superbad. And McLovin is this character in there who's got this fake ID. And then the cops believe his insanely awful story about him being able to buy alcohol, and then he goes on an adventure with a bunch of cops. And he was a legend of mine back when I saw that movie. I'm like, that dude knows how to live his life. So anyway, that's my shirt. Enough about me.
Nice.
Maybe Kristen, spend a few minutes just to give you introduce yourself to the audience for those that might not know your background and sort of your involvement in the Tesla community, and then we'll kick it off from there if that's okay with you.
Yeah, so I got involved in Tesla about the same time I got on Twitter. Uh, just jumped in, saw Elon fighting a lot of the FUD and a lot that was happening, and a lot of us were reading media articles and realizing there was a lot of FUD in it. So we spent a lot of time debunking it and a lot of time on Twitter just working together and doing different things. But it evolved into us going to shareholder meetings, us making like liaisons in the community and friends and partnering, and here we are now. Like, I think people who love Tesla, so we get fully involved.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I remember all your FUT fighting stuff from back in the day, and it was such a at the time I was working at the company, and it was one of those things where I remember going home after like 12, 13-hour long days, and then I'm like seeing all these news articles and craziness about the company. I'm like, this is like exhausting. I'm already like freaking tired, and then you're telling me the company I work for sucks, its leader sucks, everything sucks. Like, you should leave. Then I have friends and family hitting me up from the side. Oh, did you hear that Elon did this, or that the company's doing this, and blah, blah, blah. And then I see you and Gally and Rob and Dave and all these people like, okay, like, guys, like, this is actually what's happening. This is what's happening. And it was so, honestly, thank you. Because I think that's super underrated still to this day. I think you guys have had such a huge impact. Obviously, not just Elon, because we can talk about your Third Row podcast with him and all that stuff. But I think it goes a long way for people that have worked at Tesla and are still working there. What you guys did was super, super important. And those outside of I think Elon and Tesla circles might view me saying this as like, oh, you crazy fanboy, crazy person. But honestly, when you're in there working as hard as we do, as hard as we did, now that I'm not there anymore, but they still work really hard. It makes a huge difference when you have just regular people coming to the defense of what you're working on. And so honestly, thank you. And that's like, you didn't get paid for that. You just freaking did it because you felt like the mission was important. Thank you. Honestly.
Definitely. Thank
Seriously.
you for your work too.
Yep. I didn't, dude, I'm nothing. I'm nothing. Honestly, what you guys did is super important. But yeah, maybe we'll get a little bit into the Third Row stuff that you did. Let me pull up this picture actually, because I for those that are not familiar, Third Row Podcast was a podcast that was hosted not too long ago, and we have this handsome fella, Mr. Elon Musk, and then who do we got here in this bottom left corner? Who is that? Oh, where'd she go? Okay, there she go. There's Kristen, and maybe tell us a little bit about this experience you had, if you don't mind.
Man,
Yeah.
this was a wild experience. So Third Row started as a group of friends after the shareholder meeting. We had just had different ideas of things we wanted to do, and we were supporting each other. We had gone to the Cybertruck event, and then the podcast kicked off, and we hadn't done many podcasts, but a handful of us Elon responded to quite a lot. I think Viv was the one that Elon responded to the most, and he he talked about his Wikipedia and some errors in it, and Viv just kind of said, you want to come on our podcast and correct that, and he something to the degree, I don't know the exact words, but he said sure. So here we are, like right before Christmas, and then Elon's going to come on our podcast. So we're obviously like losing it because our podcast had just started it. So we're super thrilled, but we arranged it and we did the podcast, I believe January 4th of 2020, right before all the crazy chaos happened with COVID. But it was it was
Wow.
it was amazing. There's so much to say. It was really cool. It was a cool day.
Was there
What else
anything
can you
like,
say? Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, like behind the scenes maybe that we didn't see on the podcast that you remember, or what it was like meeting May,
Was
or
there any
yeah,
any behind the scenes stuff?
yeah,
There was so I mean, we only expected to be there for a short time, like the time you would need to do a decent podcast, not like all day. And we ended up staying till like four-ish. I think we drove around five. And Elon ordered lunch for us because he's a very hospitable host, very kind. And so we stood in the kitchen with Elon and May and Kimball and listened to them talk. And I think what Elon talked about, he talked about, I don't know how we got on the subject about the worst thing on a menu. And he said earthworm in dirt. And he's like, it literally was an earthworm in dirt in France or something like that.
wow,
Yeah.
Really?
bizarre.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Did your like impressions of Elon change like after, like before you had met him versus like after you had been through this interview? Or do you remember?
So unfortunately, the lag is bad. I hope.
Oh,
Oh, uh-oh. Okay, K10 has left us for the time being. Okay. That was perfect timing. Unfortunately, the lag is bad. Goodbye. So we'll give K10 a little bit of time here to come back. Sorry, guys. Yeah, she'll be back here soon. I'm sure oh, there we go. She's back already. Look at that. Okay, we got you back. The timing was perfect. It was, you said, unfortunately, the lag is bad, and then you disappeared. It was perfect timing. Sorry, go ahead.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I didn't hear the question that Rodman asked.
oh, so I was
You asked
basically,
something about Elon, but I didn't hear it all.
yeah, I was saying, like, did your impressions of like Elon as a person change before and after the interview?
No. I think Elon is pretty thorough who he is. I've never seen him put on pretenses. He's not the kind of person that I have found does things that need to impress people. He was just as kind and considerate in person as he was online. I mean, it's got to be different to be in the presence of somebody who's probably your boss over somebody that you engage with freely. So he was very kind. He's a very generous, kind person. I don't know how he remains his cool, calm demeanor in light of all that he takes on. Most of us know when our plate's over full, we tend to, at least I do. I mean, I get like this. I tend to snap sometimes. I mean, it's not that frequent, but Elon just rolls with it. He's a tough guy, but yeah.
Yeah,
Was there,
Go ahead.
sorry, Rodman, was
No, no.
there anything that from, so it's such a fascinating, like, he's obviously a human being and a super brilliant one at that, but he's a person, like, ultimately that's the sort of vibe I get from him. He's a person, he's a human being who just is capable of achieving a lot of things. But the one thing that's always fascinates me is his insane capacity to do so much, to do so much, yet still it still seems like he's got a switch that he can flip where he's just like out there joking on Twitter and going on interviews and having fun with a few folks. Like his All In podcast recently was fascinating for me to watch because he just seemed like a very free flowing person that was just talking with friends openly. But then he goes and puts out a trillion fires in Tesla, reads 17,000 hit pieces on him online, so on and so forth. So I'm wondering, was there something about his character or something about how he approaches I don't know, just everyday life that maybe you picked up with your short interaction with him? Was there anything that jumped out to you that said, okay, wow, okay, I get how he can do this, or maybe we need more time with him? What do you think?
I think he's very logical. I think that helps, and I think he's very fair. If you've ever heard his I believe it was with Joe Rogan when he talked about policemen and judges, and I think I think he's very graceful in the way he treats people. I don't know. I appreciate him as a human being because he's highly intellectual, but he respects a person's path to finding truth and finding what they believe in and where they feel they need to be. And I don't see him somebody who belittles people. I've never seen that in his character. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. You'll see a lot of hate, and I don't know how he handles it all. I think he just accepts it is what it is, and it's not always you. Often it isn't you. That person is like that in many circumstances that hates Elon. They also they hate other things, and sometimes you'll go to their
It's true.
accounts and you'll find they're just a very negative person. And so I don't know why you would want to occupy your day beating down somebody or even hating somebody. So I think he's really good at pushing that aside. I don't know how he does it, but it would weigh on most people, and I'm sure it weighs on him. But yeah, I hope I answered that correctly. I mean, in the
No,
way that you
yeah.
asked.
It's a, I mean, that's, I like to ask impossible questions, so I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's like
No, I
I
like
just
good
load people.
questions.
I mean, it's a
Yeah,
serious
go ahead, Rhonda.
problem because, like,
Yeah.
there's a perception around very wealthy people, and he's like the
Mm,
wealthiest of the wealthy, right? And
right.
like, it's very easy to just kind of compartmentalize people as like, oh, everyone who's wealthy does this, and everyone who's gotten wealthy like has blood on their hands or is like, they did it through nefarious means. And
Mm,
like when you look at what he's done, like it's about as clean as you can get, right? Like he owns a lot of stock, he never sold it. Well, he did this last year or the end of last year, but like he's held on to so much of it, and it's not just out of greed. You can tell if like after like talking to him and seeing interviews with him. So it is a very interesting problem that like he has a perception issue, and people who like us like have kind of
mhm.
dug through the information about like the interviews and like figured out who he is as a person, at least as much as you can without like really knowing him. Like we have a perception, and then everyone else has a different perception, and like I don't know how you solve that. Like yeah, like when the Twitter thing came up, right? It's like everyone assumes that he's doing it out of ego, right? And if you know him, right? Like if you have some understanding of what kind of person he is, it's usually not like he's not if he were doing something out of ego, he would be buying stuff to like kind of show how big he is. And people also, use SpaceX like as the same thing. It's like, oh, like SpaceX is just him like showing that he's better than Bezos. But like I don't know how you have that much drive to work on a business of this caliber without like something more than just it's my ego, right? I don't know.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Farzad said, we'll be called cult members or we'll be called fanboys or girls or whatever people want to say, and like you kind of have to just throw it out the door. It's just kind of, I don't know, people
Doesn't
being
help.
negative again. No, it doesn't help. And you're right. I mean, Elon could, if Elon wanted to flex where he was at, he could do that in the way that people have accolades. And SpaceX, if you listen to the history behind it, is nothing to do with like competing with Bezos. Like it might even be the other right way around. Like Bezos popped in there because it's what you do, I guess. I don't know. I don't know the mission statement behind Blue Origin. I don't, but I do know what Elon had stated about doing with SpaceX and looking at the Apollo missions and the plan to get people out there. I, an engineer's mind, a good engineer will want to build on what was put before them. And I think that's Elon's mind. When you look at society and history and where we've been, he wants to build on where we've been. And we're kind of faltering. I mean, if you 1970s, we put people out there. How long has
Yeah.
that been? 50 years? And he's right. And he's like, well, if no one will do it, I'll do it. And he has the capability of doing it. It's just a responsibility of what you're given. If you're given a gifted mind and the ability to do it. And I feel like Elon holds himself to that. He holds himself to his potential, regardless if he has haters. So it's hard for people to understand that because I think most people cave at selfish motives. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great insight.
I think what's also really interesting, and this is sort of and something I've been thinking about for a while, ever since I left the company, is the one thing, and I think it speaks to Elon's character, is that so Tesla, SpaceX, everything that Elon has built has such a mission driven component to those companies for its attraction of talent, for retaining the talent,
Mm,
for working extremely hard, something that's bigger than
mm,
self. And that to me, I
mhm,
think is a brand new, like you guys have talked about it. It's a brand new paradigm almost on in how to run business. And I wonder how much of the sort of think about the last, I don't know, let's use capitalism as an example. I don't even know what context to put this in, but how many times have big companies used mission as a very shallow way of just saying, we just want to make more money. We just want to serve
yeah,
the shareholder. We just want to make a bunch of money for ourselves and our employees and the C-level executives. And now you have this person, an Elon, who has sort of figured out or has identified areas in the economy that are obviously extremely profitable, but they're profitable because the mission is so freaking important that it needs to get
mm,
done. And the reward from humanity is, yep, just going to invest and buy your stuff because it's extremely important. So it's like it's a very
mm,
different way of approaching business. And I wonder, that's why there's so much dissonance, especially when it comes to the billionaire argument. It's like, hey, like he's super rich, forget the guy. He's like, yeah, but he made his money like the best way, the right way, the right way, which is
right.
inspire, build around a mission, and ensure that the culture of a mission driven company exists throughout the entire, it propagates through every single person that works there. And that was a unique insight I gained while I was there. It's like, okay, crap, like I'm here working 13 hours a day, but I want to work 13 hours a day. It's not like I have to freaking fill in a spreadsheet because my boss is going to fire me or I'm not going to be able to get my next job or get promoted. It's because the shit I'm doing is important. It's very important, you know? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how much. Maybe that's the missing piece that the public doesn't get. And like, I almost want everyone to just go work at Tesla and SpaceX. Like, everybody apply and go work there. Like, even for like 2 months, go work there, see what it's actually like, come out, and then tell me that you still believe what you believe. So I don't know. Just
That
wanted
was
to
an
throw my two
interesting
cents
idea.
in there. You know, I don't know.
Totally
That's it.
But
agree. His money at the end of the day is not what he's lavishly going to dive into and build his legacy on. He's doing something with a purpose driven, like he said, like the money he's building is going to go towards this mission he feels for Mars and for humanity. And that's what it's at. So it's not like he's looking for the monetary gains to do anything for himself. And that's what people don't get. I don't they don't I think it's rare to find people who do things for other people, maybe. I don't know. And you're right, like people like you, Farzad, like who go to the company and want to build and believe in the mission, like I don't know. I think the haters are the ones who don't get it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, I wonder if there's something that can be done. I mean, people probably don't want to get it, but I mean, I wonder what it is that like you can switch. Like, what is it that we can do that will like kind of give people that perspective? And I sort of thought it was like, okay, when he was criticized on Twitter for being a wealthy billionaire, and then he goes and sells all his property, you're like, that's amazing. Like, who does that, right? Like when he sold like all his Beverly Hills property, like I was just like, that is crazy. But he did it, and now he lives like very modestly. And it's like, yeah, it's I don't know what it is that you can change in people's minds. Like, but I think what's telling is how many people do believe in his mission and have like I think like what you guys did and like what others are doing and what he's doing to like kind of sell himself to other people, like, and to see like on Twitter how many people like are inspired by him. Like if he just continues doing that, maybe that's enough. But there will always be haters, so I don't know.
Yeah, there's people in camps that I believe have made up their mind on what he is and who he is, and they make it almost like a bent to make him look bad. It's really wild. It's interesting when people do really well, a lot of people want you to take the time to fix all their problems or fix the problems everywhere. And Elon has done a lot of that. We've got anything from those boys that were lost in the caves to the machines that were sent for COVID. Elon responds to that. His companies and the people who
Starlink
work
in
for him.
Ukraine.
You're absolutely right. He
Yeah.
sent his engineers, who he pays on the clock, he has to talk to them over to Thailand to help with things like this. This is not like it didn't cost him, and he didn't have to do this. And people are like, oh, he did it for accolades. I'm like, I highly doubt he did it for accolades. If anything, he knows he's going to get flack for it. I think he cares. But people think when you do really well, that sometimes you forget people, but I think they forget how many employees does Elon have? I mean, he's got a lot of in-company personal issues he has to deal with. He takes time in the public sphere to do all that. I don't know how he does it. So I think there should be more of a measure of grace considering that he's taking on a lot, in my opinion. But yeah.
Yeah. I agree 100%. I agree 100%. I think even like the latest things that's going on with like Business Insider and Wall Street Journal, where I think there's been like a shift away from, at least again, this is just me perception. I don't have scientific data, but it's all anecdotal. But it's shifting away from, well, the billionaire thing doesn't work anymore, doesn't, or it's not as powerful because of, we can't say that he owns a bunch of houses, we can't say that he owns a yacht, and you can say, I mean, with that Grease photo, which he made himself fun of a little bit, but like you can tell the guy never leaves the freaking factory. The dude is stone white, okay? Like he
Yeah.
needs sun. Elon, if you're watching this, you still look good, but bro, get yourself some vitamin D somehow, get some sun. Okay, it's gonna help you.
Yeah.
Seriously. But you can tell that the guy is obviously super hardworking. So he works for the money, if that's how you want to think about it. But in reality, he's working for more than that. At least I believe that's the case. So now I'm seeing this shift from, well, we can't attack him on wealth, attack him on character. Attack him on character. So sexual harassment, going behind his best friend's back to sleep with his ex-wife. Like now it's like a bunch of like, well, if we instill this doubt into the public, then it becomes a much deeper sort of psychological game. It seems like where you're questioning the person's like whole character of what it means to be a person, right? And it's like it's so dirty. It's so freaking dirty, and it's to me. It's such a bummer that I was talking about this about not too long ago too. It's like I can't believe I'm at a point now where I can't even trust any headline that comes out of news media because of how unfairly treated Elon has been in the last few years. That it's almost like being associated with him and whatever he's doing, like following his companies and his missions or whatever. It's like a way of exposing just the rot and the dirty games and the crazy stuff that happens behind the scenes. And to me, that seems like an obvious shift in narrative that's happening. But I don't know if you guys agree with me or not. I'm curious to hear your thoughts about that if you both have any. But Kristen, maybe you go first.
You cut out a little bit, and maybe it's my Wi-Fi again.
Sorry.
So the attack, I mean, from what I hear, the attack in the media and everything that they couldn't attack him in his personal life, so they went to his character. Yeah, it's almost like a game book, right? It makes you wonder, and we know this subconsciously. This is what people do when they attack, when there's nastiness that's being flown around, and people don't know all the history. It was really sad to watch. I mean, he went. And you can watch it. He went to Greece, and it was a follow-up to a wedding he went to attend for a friend. And he was on a friend's yacht, and even the media was saying that he was that this new brunette he was with, and we're like, that's the bride. Like that's nothing there. It's a bunch of nothing burger, but that's what they do. They're trying so hard to dig and find stuff, and they don't know any of the facts. But it's a huge character slander, and it's there's a lot going on. Elon's a threat to a lot of industry. He's a threat to people's way of thinking who don't want to see him succeed. So they are attacking him. And it's stupid. And I wish people would not listen to these things, but I don't know. Critical thinking. I don't know. What do you think, Rodman?
Yeah, it's so I mean, like I keep going back to just like the Sergey Brin, like
Yeah.
his wife thing. And like I try to picture like what all the possibilities are. So like, either Elon's telling the truth or he's telling a lie about like retorting this. But it's pretty clear, like I don't know how Elon would be telling a lie. Like it's not like he could say, "Oh, I was just with Sergey," and then like Sergey would just be able to retort like, "No." Like if he was really angry, like he would just like so. there's no game plan there, right? So clearly it's got to be truth, right? So like when you go into that, it's like, okay, so what happened with this story? And like either I think someone like told this story to these reporters and
Mm,
there was enough truth behind it or something that they thought they could get away with it, or these reporters are going after fake stories, and like it's hard to figure out which one it is, but like either way, wherever it's coming from, it's it's almost ridiculous that Wall Street Journal would publish this without fully like going through the story. Like maybe it was like 2016 or 2015. There was a article in the Rolling Stone. I like tweeted this out a few days ago, and it was this old story about like a college rape that happened, and then
mm,
it went out into the
Remember
publication,
this?
and then it turned out to be completely fabricated by the person telling the story. And like the problem was that it was um, they hadn't gone through and like done enough fact checking and like verifying that this person's story didn't have holes in it. And like they were vilified, right? That person lost their job. Like they probably aren't writing very many articles anymore. But like Rolling Stone took a lot of heat, but like none of that's happening for this. And I mean, sure, like telling a
mm.
story about rape and like having it like amplified and like all that anger, like, and then like not being true, that's probably part of it. But it's just super interesting that like you can lie about something and then have the media go crazy about that lie. And then you have another lie here, and it's like crickets. Right? No
Yeah,
one's no one's even like discussed the possibility in the media that this is not true.
I think it's interesting that the media doesn't even reveal the sources. This is just strange. Why not reveal the sources if it's factual? This will come to fruition, come to the light, and people will have to. If they had a source, you would have to actually. I mean, Bryn Sergey would have to weigh in on it. Elon would weigh on it. Like, but the source is not revealed. So, is there really a source? Probably not. And
Yeah.
media knows that. And this is my problem with media. It doesn't give what should be just the facts or people's perception. They love to paint an antagonist and protagonist, and that is not news. That is a story, and people love a good story with a hero and a villain, and this is what they do because it sells. You love a good
Yeah.
storybook, you love a good movie. It's not a good movie if there's not a villain and someone doing it, so they do this, and I think they know what sells. We don't know. I mean, I can say there's people like Bill Gates who are shorting Tesla. We don't know to what dirty tactics anybody will go to pull this crap because they know it's just enough to stir the pot and keep it going. And one other thing people think is really weird is why, and I know it's really red flag to mention, why is the Epstein thing not more in the news? Where's that kind of crap, like,
Yeah.
but anyways, media is definitely in bed with some people it should not be in bed with.
For
Right.
sure. Do you think, like, how do is this even fixable, or is this just human nature? And I've been battling with this because as a YouTube creator I make titles and thumbnails, and I'm like,
Yeah.
the ones that do really well I feel a little dirty on because I'm like, man, I had to put in a word there or make a picture that I'm like, fuck, I'm trying to like get a little bit of a reaction out of it. So it's almost like I'm understanding a little bit better the psychology of it. But like, I'm trying to figure out if I can remain optimistic about this situation improving and really getting to a point where we incentivize truth instead of attention. Right now we're totally in
Mm,
a attention incentivizing sort of place, either through the fall of paper media. Now we're going online, and now social media and individual voices are taking away the power of these institutions, so they have to get a lot more clickbaity to retain their viewers. I mean, we can do a whole friggin' case study on this whole thing that has been happening. But do you think this is fixable, or is this
mm.
just what we're stuck with? What do you think?
I didn't hear the last probably 2 seconds of what you just
Oh,
asked.
do you think
What was
this
the
is
question?
fixable? Do you think this is something we can fix where we incentivize truth instead of attention?
For those who believe truth should reign, yes. I don't. You're dealing with, I mean, the psychology of human nature. There's people literally, not really capable of empathy. I don't know how you ensue those incentives in everybody, because obviously, like, people say communism sounds great if everyone's working together. It's kind of like, we're all working together and we all have the same direction we're working. It works great. But the psychopath among you is not looking at it like that. They're looking at it as an opportunity. They're like, this is great. Everyone's doing this, and they move because their empathy and their understanding changes their ethics. So I think to some degree, and you gotta rely on the hope of the good. That's why we do what we do. Like, some people, you'll hear some people who are fed up with humanity and they hate all humanity. And I'm like, well, that doesn't work either. They're like, I just love animals. I'm like, but you do understand there's animals that will kill and hurt their own too. It's not like animals are devoid of some of these things that humans do. So I think you got to push for the good, Farzad, and you got to punish the things that are wrong. And I don't know. It's just, there's a lot of relative moralism being thrown out there right now. So it really mixes it all up.
It's a great point. Rodman, what do you think? How would Rodman fix this whole mess? Come on, bro, fix it for us. Hurry up. Let's go. Fix it.
Yeah.
Fix it.
I mean, like, I think social media has taken a lot of heat too. I mean, it causes a lot of the similar problems as like as regular media does. And that, like you said, like going for clicks, like with thumbnails and titles is not much different than like having a scandalous headline, right? But yeah, I don't know. It is a human nature problem, and maybe there's someone who under psychology, like, I'm not much of a psychology person, but yeah, like, it is a fundamental issue where like they can do tests where it's like they can track like the most viral things through like Twitter or whatever social media, and like the things that are false always like do much better than things that are true. So like, I think it's not an issue we'll ever solve, but I think it's an issue that like that has some awareness around it. Yeah, I haven't heard a good answer about it, but I mean, like, yeah, I've heard like episodes like on NPR and stuff like that about like them discussing this exact issue, and I don't remember them ever coming to any conclusion of like them being able to solve it. So maybe we just try to do our best and then ignore the maybe not ignore, but maybe, yeah. Yeah, it
Maybe we should keep a rating.
Yeah.
A rating going. Maybe there should be a site that rates media on how many times it got it right and wrong. So people, when they watch NBC, they go, wait a second, this is the 10th wrong story. And this one's factual, Maybe they need to be held accountable. Maybe we just blindly, what is that? There's a phenomenon, I forget the name of it, where you'll watch something on the news and you'll go, oh, that's wrong, because you know something about it. But then you'll blindly watch the next story and believe it. Like, we're kind of funny like that.
Yeah, the accountability of these companies, and especially of like individual journalists in these companies, it needs to be. I mean, didn't Elon talk about Pravda or something like that? Like that was like along that sort of thought process, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, that was really cool. We were hoping. I mean, I think that's what you said, Farzad, just reads right into the Twitter thing. The Twitter thing is not a knee-jerk ego reaction. This is something he's been pondering for a long time, because he's lived out enough to watch him be defamed and libeled through things that are absolutely not true. And he's just looking for truth, because I think he realizes if it's happening to him, it's happening everywhere,
Right.
So I think Twitter was just a platform that he realizes. I mean, I love Twitter for the intellectual thing. You can talk to anybody, you can engage with people. So Twitter, yeah. I mean, I would be nice to see him do the Pravda stuff, but how many more things can he take on his plate,
Yeah. All right, let's get it. Who in the comments wants to start Pravda?
Yeah.
Post, say yes if you want it. We'll fund you with Dogecoin.
Nice.
I'm curious. The other thing I've been thinking about too is, if we take Tesla as an example, and obviously everybody in this forum understands Tesla's long-term impact that it's going to have on the auto industry, full self-driving, most likely robotics, battery storage, solar, so on and so forth. So for those of us that have been invested in the company, follow the company, and know the company's track record of executing on big goals, which it has done multiple times now, it stands to reason that Tesla is on the trajectory to get to the 20 million cars per year sold, untold number of battery packs and mega packs, solar panels, robots, self-driving cars, cyber trucks, I don't freaking know, mobile homes, I don't know, man, RVs, freaking an entire merch line that's the biggest clothing company in the world. I don't know. Just we can go down the crazy sort of rabbit hole of that stuff. But and then SpaceX, we think about Starship and how it's going to monopolize essentially go into space if you really think about that impact. So Elon and Tesla and his companies, SpaceX, their cultural impact is set to balloon if this trajectory keeps going, to say 100x where we are now, maybe even more. It's going to touch so many people, especially if he buys Twitter as well, and that ends up happening, or he comes up with a social media company. One of the things I posited in the past is that right now, very, very few people get to interact with an Elon Musk company, even if it's Tesla. Unless you really own the car, you don't really understand the impact of Tesla. So a very tiny percentage of the population is actually plugged into the Elon world directly. Once Twitter, say a social media company comes out that he's able to spearhead, once Tesla's at 20 million cars a year, once renewable energies are flowing through it, it becomes 50%, 60%, 70% of the population starts being plugged in to that sphere of whatever you want to call it. What happens then? Does the narrative change at that point? Does it become too big to fail? Like quote unquote, let's use that terminology for that. Does it become something that's almost impossible to refute because so many people are plugged into it and they understand its impact and they understand how valuable it is for humanity? What do you guys think? Or is that way too optimistic?
Yeah, you would hope. I mean, you can think of like Apple as sort of similar position right now, right? Because of the iPhone and the Macs, and everyone has an iPad. Not everyone, but a lot of people. And definitely like the whole attitude towards Apple changed a lot over the last 10, 12 years. So like if Tesla follows a similar trajectory, I can see more people like, oh, this has made an impact in my life. A direct impact, right? And like and I think maybe that's what the difference is that it's the people who drive Teslas, and like once you've driven it and it's become part of your life and it's made your life better, right? It's hard to like fault that, right? Because it's like, wow, this guy completely rethought the car. So yeah, I think you're right. Like if people, I don't know if Tesla, if social media is the right application to like getting into people's lives and making a difference, but if you can make social media better and like not encounter all the issues that like Facebook has, and like the people, I'm not sure exactly what everyone's problem with Facebook is, but I think a lot of it has to do with privacy and like erosion of trust. But if Tesla can build trust with people and kind of earn that and then hold on to it and not betray that trust, that will do a whole lot of good for maintaining sort of it's like the whole position. I don't know. Kristen, do you have thoughts?
Getting the lag. I hope you guys aren't getting the lag too. So let's say Tesla takes on, I think what you were saying, Farzad, 50% of the industry. They've made it, I guess, in what you could say. I don't. There's a dying fight by, and we see that with the auto industry out there right now. Tesla is disrupting things, and they're not going to go down without a fight. And oil is important for different factors. I mean, we got organic chem and pharmacy and whatever we can say. Pieces of Tesla are made from oil, right? I don't know that I mean, how to change people's perspective. I think for the common person, a lot of people don't see a problem until it's in their face. I don't like Elon is so proactive that he's way ahead of the curve. He doesn't want to wait till the issues are in your backyard and stuff. Are we lagging?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I think that people don't know they need it until they or how good it was or where it is until they see that issue. But I think if they do drive a Tesla, if they do have a Tesla and they start calculating and thinking about it and they're not listening to the silly lies that go out there, then they would understand. I think I think for the majority of people, they kind of just go with the flow of what society says. But I think once things get to that point, hopefully Tesla will be the narrative that makes more sense and not just big oil and the machine that it is. And there'll be more of a peace there. So we'll have to see. I don't know how we're gonna. they're not gonna go down without a fight. Not that they need to go down. They just need to change direction. I mean, we see GM right now playing the game where Mary Barra is always going. GM is leading, and we're leading. And what is it that is it?
She's the best, Kristen. She's the best. She's the best.
So if you say a lie long enough and loud enough, some people just believe it, and that's unfortunate that people are like that. But I think it will change. I think Tesla will be up there, and it will make a big difference. And things have to change. I mean, when you got trash bags in the Mariana Trench, it's not okay, And you can't expect someone else to pick up the mess. It's so crazy how people say, "Oh, it's an issue," and they hope that big billionaire Elon will solve it, which he is trying to, and then they get mad because he's not doing enough. I don't know. The whole thing is confounding. People just need to be proactive and do more.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I agree 100% with that. I want to shift gears real quick to the next week's investor meeting. So that's something that you've been a part of in the past. You've attended investor meetings. What are you looking for, Kristen, in this meeting? Do you think there's going to be any surprises, or is there something specific? Are you coming to Austin, by the way, on that week, or are you going to be? Did you get a ticket?
So no, I didn't get a ticket. I bought airline tickets the day that it was announced. I planned on coming. I love the community. I've told people before, the community and networking in a way that we love and support the company is a great way to get to know people who really have a likewise passion, Yeah. So I'm coming for that, to see the people. I wish I had a ticket. It is a raffle. So I'll be there. And for the shareholder meeting, I'm looking forward to, probably like most people, hearing some things revealed. Like Elon kind of reveals a few fun things. He's allowed to. I mean, Securities Exchange is watching, but he can do this now. So we're hoping to hear maybe, some game plans. Is there going to be another Giga opening? Is that compact car that's been thrown around and joked about, then maybe thrown out? Is that coming back up? Things like that. I think Tesla's on a great track. Financially, I don't see an issue. If it's struggling, it's struggling just as much as anybody else in this recession is, and with the inflation and with bottlenecks that COVID has created. So it's going to be positive, in my opinion. So what are you looking forward to, Farzad?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a super positive meeting, because especially one of the last tweets that Elon sent out was that inflation seems to be coming down. So he sent this signal to the industry that says, yo, like, we're seeing a positive trend towards there. Now, we have a recession looming, or not I don't even know what the hell a recession is anymore, because we're changing everything nowadays. It's like a game of Whose Line. It's what was it? It's what is it? The rules are made up and the points don't matter. I feel like I live in a life of in a game of Whose Line right now. But anyway, that was my stupid joke. I think it's going to be a very positive meeting. I think there's going to be one of the things that I've been thinking about, that Elon has talked about before, is Master Plan Part 3. So he's talked about Master Plan Part 3 and working on Master Plan Part 3. One of my predictions is that he will unveil Master Plan Part 3 at the investor meeting. I think, especially when you're thinking about the future scale of the company, and you're thinking about where it's going to go in the next 3 to 5 years, and there are plans to release a robotaxi and Cybertruck and the compact car. I think the EV tax credit that they're talking about in the U.S. with the $7,500 credit all the way through 2032, uncapped. I think that is it should be a signal for Tesla, if they can make this happen, to accelerate, like massively accelerate their plans to get affordable cars out there as quickly as humanly possible, to take advantage of this rebate, because no one else has the supply to make this happen, or the supply chain. So I think Tesla is really the only one well equipped to take advantage of being able to stimulate the economy through this credit. But I think Master Plan Part 3
Right.
to me is like the big thing I think that's going to be unveiled, and then we'll see. And I know like he's also finishing up his tranches, or I think they're already done for his previous compensation package. So I'm wondering if maybe they'll unveil that there too, because obviously he's not doing it for the money, but you need to pay the guy with something. He can't just work for free forever. So I'm curious to see if that's going to be unveiled as well. But those are my predictions. I don't know if you have any, Rodman, from your end.
Yeah,
What the hell is
main
this
thing.
naked sex XYZ best adult dating site in the comments? Jesus Christ. Go away. Sorry.
Sorry. That's my bot.
You're good. Oh, okay. Go for it.
Yeah, my thoughts were the same. I definitely want to see something about the master plan part 3. I think he covered so much about 4680 on the last call, so I imagine that's kind of, and then like it's kind of bracketed by AI Day, so it's like it's kind of hard. It's a kind of a weird meeting because we just had this meeting. The AI Day is where we're expecting a lot of the big future stuff, but maybe there is room for like information about new products. He did talk about the van recently, so maybe he'll tease a little bit about that. I don't know. It's maybe. Did we lose Kristen again?
Yeah. You can keep going though. We'll bring it back in.
Yeah. What else could there be? Yeah, I think the main thing would be seeing the master plan part 3 and actually having him discuss some of that stuff. Like he's talked about like really like the long term of getting the battery supply under control. So yeah, I'd be really interested to see like what he thinks they can really do. And we talk about like the 50% growth number a lot, but if you'll remember, he actually had even higher growth plans before he came back down to the 50% number. So like that's something that doesn't get talked about much anymore. But like at one point he was saying like, what was it, like 40 million in 10 years, 40 million cars. And then he brought it back down to like the 20 million, and then like that kind of implied a growth plan. Welcome back. So, so yeah, I was just saying one of the things that's sort of interesting is that Elon, like maybe it was like 2 years ago, he had talked about like 40 million cars by 2030, and then he kind of like sandbagged it to 20 million, and people were still like, that's 50% growth a year.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of interesting to see like there's the old Elon who would just kind of say stuff, and then there's the newer Elon who sandbags a lot better. And I feel like maybe that 20 million is sort of the sandbag number. But then like you throw robotaxi in the mix, and then it's like it's really hard to get a clear idea of like how many cars will be produced. But yeah, master plan part 3 will be very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, no one could have predicted COVID, right?
Yeah, that's
The
true.
bottleneck
Facts.
there. People are like, oh, he
Facts.
promised and it never came. And I'm like, well, gosh, nobody predicted 100-year like viral issue coming up, pandemic worldwide. That's going to
Yeah.
affect everything.
Yeah. Everyone failed during that time period, not just
Yeah,
Elon,
anyone. Well, Tesla succeeded though.
That's true.
That's the irony. It actually
facts.
came up on top. And you listen to the earnings call, and they thanked their suppliers. They're very loyal, and their suppliers are very loyal. They did a great job strategically getting that all done.
Yeah, 100%.
And to your point, like Tesla is sorry, I just kind of brain farted. All right.
Here,
back
while you
to
think it back, it's all good. I want to highlight a couple comments real quick. Buck, $5 super chat. Thank you, brother. Buck, big listener, big fan of the show. Mary Barr just announced that in an effort to lead the N Matter, she's officially changing her name to K11. How does that make you feel, Kristen?
Very nice, Buck.
Go for
Very
it.
nice.
She should go for it. So funny.
Yo, Buck's always got the jokes in the comments, man. We love Buck. Tesla
That's
Boomer
great.
Mama, a big fan of yours, Kristen. Alexandra Mertz, for those that are not aware. Awesome fan of the show as well. Please don't expect too much from shareholder meeting. This is about an important vote more than anything else. So thank you for setting the expectation there, Alexandra. I appreciate that very much. There was one other comment here that came up, just kind of digging on Kristen a little bit. Kristen, you need Starlink.
I know. I thought
Grandma
about that.
needs
I
to.
literally was thinking about that. And I can get Starlink. I was on the list to get it, and I probably should. I think it's an extra $70 a month, and I was like, dang it, I probably should just bite the bullet and do it. And here I am.
Yeah.
I've driven it. For everyone who doesn't know, not that you need to keep up on my personal life, I drove 8 hours out to see my grandma in Boise, and love grandma, but her Wi-Fi is not that great. She's like in this retired community where only like age 60 plus can be, and it's super cute. We went and played bingo the other morning, but the Wi-Fi is not as great here. But grandma's like 80 plus, and she's not on Wi-Fi that much. So
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
good. That's good.
Yeah. Honestly, being disconnected is always a good thing,
She's great. She was my town librarian, so she's a great conversationalist. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is awesome. Maybe for the last few minutes here, Kristen, I have one question, and then if anybody has maybe a quick question for Kristen as well, drop it in the comments. We'll try to get to it here before our time's up. But one of the things that I've been trying to figure out how to do my part, and like try to figure out how to bring in more women to the Tesla community online.
Yeah.
The one thing I notice is like I drive around and I talk to people, and it's like basically 50-50. Like there's like people that are passionate about Tesla, or it's kind of split, But the one thing I've noticed is online, like it's very, right or wrong. I'm not saying this is bad, but the one thing I've noticed is that it's very male dominated, and I think that I've always found it very interesting how different people think differently about certain things, and I'm always trying to include different perspectives in the conversation. And I've made like a conscious decision, and I was talking to my wife about this. I was like, I want to bring in more women voices, at least from my channel, so we can gain their insights as well. I think that's super valuable. Then I asked my wife, I'm like, do you like Tesla? She's like, yeah, I like Tesla. Do you like Elon? Yeah, I think he's awesome. I was like, okay, do you follow a Tesla YouTube or any Tesla Twitter? She's like, nah, I'm not really that interested. I'm like, why not? She's like, I don't know, I'm just not that interested. So I'm curious, like, as a woman, like how like could we do something better? Are we not thinking about this correctly? Is it just, I don't know, is there incompatibility? Like, help me think through this a little bit. Yeah.
You're right. I've done polls, and I think as high as 90-95% of the community is male. People will say that's because it's more auto, or that's because it's more of a STEM, which, I mean, there's a whole lot of, like, you could get into the understanding of all that and how it works in your opinion. To get more women in, there definitely is women out there that you could bring online. I just don't know, maybe women don't like talking. Like I took chemistry. Most of my class was all males. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just women in STEM, and this is just an arena that women are not as involved in. But we could definitely get more women involved. We know a lot of the women that are involved in the community, at least on Twitter, and there's other platforms that there's other women more involved. But to get more women involved, I think maybe we just might have to reach out and talk to them. I mean, I'm thinking there's a lot of them that get really involved where they're at in the company, and then it becomes like, as you know, our fars. Oh, did I cut out? You're not really allowed to speak your opinion. Are we there?
Yeah, you're there.
Here.
You came back.
Good.
Yeah. We lost
good?
like the last
Okay.
10 seconds
Good.
of what you said. Maybe repeat the last 10 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah, you're lagging now. I don't know. I think
I can hear you perfectly. So
doing good?
just
We
keep
can
going.
hear you perfect. Yeah, keep going. We can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe we'll have to make the effort to network with those people, to bring more people in. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to sit and think about it. I think a lot of them get involved in the companies, so maybe they're not allowed to speak so freely like we are on podcasts.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, as a driver, I live in Los Angeles, by the way, and I do pay attention to like the drivers, and I would say over like at least the last 2 years, like the percentage of women driving Teslas, especially when the Model 3 like started to explode, like it was, I would say, almost majority women. Like, I would see more women driving them than men. It's kind of even backed out now, but it's, it could just be sampling at weird times or whatever. But I also am kind of curious, like if there is sort of like maybe the interest of like women in cars has usually been pretty low, but it's whether you want to like spend a lot of time thinking about Tesla when it's just your transportation. It's
Yeah,
maybe not something that you want to spend a lot of time in. That's not to say there aren't people, women that are like, but yeah, there definitely are women active on Twitter. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting.
maybe women that, I mean, we've got the ones that drive the Teslas, but maybe ones that are more into the environment and understand the reality of what's going on. I mean, you have the oil industry that was putting out the lies and smears. Oh, all the EVs and electrical and, Silicon Valley and phones and whatever, are all that cobalt's so bad. But, you look into the oil industry, they've been using cobalt for desulfurization for a long time. They know what they did, they
Yeah,
they want to make a narrative that made things look bad. But I don't know, maybe just an effort on our part, because this is just kind of for a lot of us, this is just what we did in our side time, in our downtime, and then we got really
Yeah.
serious about it. But I don't. Maybe they're just happy that they drive a great car, like Rodman says, and they've got other things they're busy with in life.
yeah.
There's an interesting comment here by Alexandra. So, talk
Yeah.
safety and more women will join. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think so. I think, well, especially like probably where I would assume she's going with families, because I think women, if they're thinking of their children and things like that, they probably would join. Yeah, and you're right. You listen to men who have like the FSD beta, the latest uh the latest reveal, or the software that's sent out, and maybe their girlfriend doesn't like driving cars as much and she's nervous about the FSD. But if you do run through the statistics of safetiness, the cameras, the way it drives better than most humans, its ability to process, it's very trustworthy. And I think maybe that's a point she's coming at. I'm not quite certain, but yeah.
Okay.
Is amazing how, I mean, for the cameras alone, the safety reason of having a Tesla, or just making sure your car's never damaged, is pretty phenomenal in itself.
Yep.
Got it. No, that makes sense. Quick question from the comments, Kristen. Did you follow car companies before Tesla came along? Is it becoming more common for women to follow now? Any insights?
Can't say well, I mean, Twitter wasn't quite, it's kind of like social media. I'm not sure. I was on other social media platforms, and it's kind of the youth, in my opinion, that work through what is relevant with social media platforms. I mean, you had like kind of like Snapchat, and then like Twitter, and then there's other new ones that are going in. Every platform kind of has its era. Facebook, like Instagram, and it kind of phases out. Twitter was kind of I find Twitter more of an intellectual one. It's less based on just like sharing your cute outfit and whatever. I did like Toyota's vehicles in the way that you could drive them into the ground. They lasted like 200, 300,000 miles. Toyota, in the way it had like its 100-year plan and stuff like that. That was interesting. My dad is extremely mechanical and engineering thinking, and I kind of take after him. So these kind of things I think about. I don't know if other people do. Like, if my dad's under the hood of his car, I actually was there watching and trying to learn things.
That's awesome.
But vehicle companies, I could tell you the pros and cons of the ones that I liked for sure. I could tell you the wiring in BMW sucked. I could tell you, I could tell you that some people bought expensive vehicles, even though they were expensive to repair, because they like to flaunt the fact that they had the
Yeah.
money to repair expensive vehicles.
Land Rover.
Yeah, this is exactly what I'm thinking, and which was bought out by, I mean, Tata Motors has it too. So yeah,
Yeah.
I did keep up on this stuff. These are just things I don't know. I'm weird. I keep up on random things. So, but I didn't follow anything like I do now, Donald. But Tesla, I believe in it. See, back in high school, I actually was thinking about vehicle. I love magnets. I loved electromagnetic things. I loved cars. I loved recycling. I was running a recycling club back in high school. These are kind of things Tesla culminated a bunch of those passions of mine into one. So heck
Pretty
yes, I got
awesome.
behind it. It's more than just a car company, what it's doing. And then we've got the whole AI approach going on right now. So
Such a great answer. Awesome. Yeah, I think that the last point there is like Tesla's like sort of culminating all these different things under one roof, and that's why it has such a mass appeal. I think makes perfect sense, and something that's still to this day very underrated. So, listen, I know we hit an hour. I want to be respectful of your time, Kristen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on. Awesome discussion. Thank you so much for being so open, and really love your insights. Just thank you for everything you've done for the Tesla community. Thank you for your continued work on that you're doing on Twitter and sort of sharing your thoughts and really helping people maybe understand a little bit better what the whole Tesla and Elon thing is about. And you're always welcome back at any time, literally any time. I'd love to have you back. And thank you so much for making the time to speak with us today.
Oh, Farzad, thank you. I think you're a great you're a great person in the community. I love seeing a new channel that's doing really well and that's on fire. And the fact that you work for Tesla. I hope you have great success. And Rodman, it was great having you on here and talking and engaging with you too. I don't think I've talked to you yet. So
yeah, that was
Tesla
great.
community is great. And I love the fact people are here supporting you. Yeah. And thank you for having me.
Of course. It's my pleasure. All right, everybody, make sure you go follow Kristen. Oh my God, plug your stuff. What am I doing? What a terrible host. Where can people follow you?
K10, well, it's Kristen Net 10, which is just a bunch of, that's my handle on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter. I had an Instagram account. It got deleted when Instagram did something weird. So yep, Twitter, you can find me there.
Okay, perfect. Go follow her. And the link's in the description as well. Thank you guys. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for
See you soon.
Bye, Rodman.